we're happy that the election has been concluded, and we're still waiting for inauguration date. We would like to use the opportunity to speak to the honorable ministers that found that the election has been concluded, that the management, the council itself needs to be sanitized. The manager themselves needs to be reassessed and change their way of doing things. So without the improvement from that side, it will not help the improvement from even the government body. So everything should be looked at holistically. Of course, before you expect a change, there must be a change. The first thing we appreciate that, of course, the individual candidacy election has taken place, which is a stepping stone. Of course, there is a being quoted from different people that's different narratives and different issues being raised. But one thing that 1,000 steps start from the steps. So, of course, we'll not only be satisfied, because why I said that, because before the program, and I made some press release about the SW Global, there's an issue in the registration of the members. And I tell you, this took about 3 weeks to register some few members, especially our associations. And I realized this must affect other associations. One, it has reduced the franchise of individuals that wanted to vote, of course, to contest as already late that time, and it has reduced the revenue for the council itself, because if the portal has been opened, and then maybe a lot of people could have updated their subscriptions at that time. So then the elections, the members register supposed to have pasted earlier than before that time. But there was a lot of issues on that. But all the same, we have started. We don't expect a perfection, but we want the minister to let the council improve in the next election. Because you just think this far, 24 months is not far. So that's why we want the honorable minister to let us fill the gap between the lack of governing bodies affecting the performance of the council. So let the inauguration take place. Let's continue to improve. And then I don't think there's any wrong if at this time we should think of automated election. And if automated election take place, you can be at your office or your house and vote. Because already the master register will be there. And with your RFF number, it cannot be cloned. And in that, we will be able to identify who are the very faithful others. So, and then it is more easier for people to participate. And also it's going to reduce costs. And all the money banks around will not be pronounced as it, because the people will have options. But as it is big, not everybody were able to present on the election date, and we have to look at the environment. People being scared about their securities. So all those things, I think the minister or the council's management have to take into cognizance in the next elections. First, we would like to thank the Honorable Minister for standing on his word, not to be unnecessarily intimidated anyway. And to be honest with you, even if Anaka or Nagap has taken the whole slot, I'll still be happy. But in that fact that individual candidates has given the privilege to participate. One thing I want you to understand is that this what we call about the corporates and associations, they are not human beings. And if you go by association, it is still an human being. Why can't you go straight to see the face of the human being that will come on board, rather than being dictated by some people in the industry? Of course, you raised that Anaka and the Nagap are taking a slot. Of course, you never mentioned some other associations who are supposed to have allocated some slots, and they were not able to make it on that day. You understand? So it has showed at least the atoms of the strength and interest of some people in the industry. And because people does not believe in a lot of things, that's why we not see a large number of people turn up for the election. And I bet with you, the next election will be quite different to this. I say without making a change, there cannot be a change. Let's get there. Of course, the election always takes place before they choose the chairman. So let you wait for that time to come and see. And if that kind of things happen, then there's a way people raise concern about these issues. And if you be raised concern about the issues, if at the end of the day, the minister who has a own team that he has taken a wrong decision by autocratically selected people on the governing board. So, and in that case, in the next 24 months, it will not repeat itself. Because crime is always above the law. So by the time that this has happened this time, you're not going to give you the chance again. Because the last governing board we have selections when someone voted for himself and came on board. But this time around, it was a different game. You have used the appropriate word. Because people always say register associations and now wondering as association operating without being registered. Because the 1979 Constitution provides registration with the corporate affairs, which I think is doing all the other registration. So talking of accreditations, AFLON has sent in a letter application to CIF for over 3 years and no response so far, which is of little of no importance to the performance of advocacy of ease of doing business for AFLON. But if we need to have what they call it, a commission or external body to come and assess association's performance, I think they should be able to have a place to rate AFLON. Understand? So, and another thing I would want to bring to your mind that AFLON is not limited to Nigeria. It's an African Association for Young Trade for that, which extended to South Africa, Kenya, Ghana. So, and accredited by a body in Nigeria cannot be an impediment for the performance of AFLON. And as a point, we're still going to ask the CIF why AFLON has not been accredited. Because once in the heart, there's a criteria for association to be accredited. There is no any section that it has limited the number of associations that can be registered. So that's the area where we are talking about that terrorism cartel in the industry. For mere fact from association as registered does not mean they're supposed to be still that they are accredited by council does not mean they are still fit to be with the council. Because let me tell you something, period before the elections, a lot of associations don't pay their dues or up to date. And what the law says in the house is that within 6 months, if you've not done that, you should be registered. Can the management of Chester say police to my house that they did that at any point? You see, so it is a kind of hypocrisy affairs by some masses when the election is coming, they will go and update their subscriptions. You understand? And I cannot even still blame this on association of individuals who does not update themselves because the council itself fail in their responsibilities. Because take for the issues of the theatres. The council has been parading the theatre logo without when they were not even part of theatre. And it has been a sense of a shame in the community of the United Nations. So in this case, that's why I was telling you that the management of the council itself has to be sanitized before you can expect a positive or credible performance from the governing board members. Charity begins at home. Leadership is have to live by examples. Let them showcase discipline, transparency. Then we'll be able to know the area where you have to address. I will say that is a misconception in your part because favorites are not kicking against them. But we need to look at the VIN platforms or invoicing in a legal perspective is illegal. In a legal foreign aspect, it's illegal because that does not include the SEMA Act of 2003. If you check section 20, that the valuation should be based on internet price. The charge will be on transaction value. But that's apart. What we need to do is to make things easier, that there will not be discrepancy between the price they pay on certain type of vehicles. For instance, if a Toyota Camry being paid 500,000 by Mr. Tunde, it should be the same amount for Mr. Kunle. So with that evaluation, they can have that. But the kicking against was because the duty was astronomically higher. And I say this is unfair. That if there's going to be an agreement, it must be in a little proportional. That's the issue Fred Further is addressing. And the agitation of Fred Further is not for themselves. It's for yourself, for the custom they say, and for the citizens of the country. Because if you look at how weak naira to dollar, that means you need more naira to purchase a vehicle of $2,000 down 6-7 months ago. And at the same time, if duty is unnecessary, that means the cost of living will be high. Because by the time the cost of bringing the vehicles to Nigeria is higher, what will happen? The quality of life will begin to low because people will not have money to afford because the per capita income will remain the same. And if by anything there will be an increment, the government has to consider a lot of things for the citizen. One, for instance, in other Western world, even in African country here, which I forgot the name, the duty was abolished for a while because of the pandemic event. That was one of the palliatives they did for their citizens. But tell me, what are the palliatives the government is introducing? The VIN that they are talking about, they are collecting money on it. The VIN you brought in the VIN, the duty is being increased. As I'm speaking to you, even at time has been increased. Before, tell us on the CWB as free. Because just like an email, ordinary paper. But now you be charged 10,000-15,000 naira on it now. All these little costs has to be added to the cost of bringing anything to the country. And don't forget that the issue of increment for the vehicle the increment is not limited to the vehicles. General goods are having the same issues too. By the time we have the benchmark for 2 million to 3 million, 3 million to 4 million, where are we going? The other time I was privileged to be in National Assembly. I said they blame small on customs. The blame it has to come on policy makers and the Federal Ministry of Finance. When you look at things, how you can build sections with yourself, the country, but you have to think about the people at the country that made up the countries. One of the few things is that the charges being given to customs is always going up every year. And when you give them a target and they know the implication, of course the targets has to come from different areas. Even the duty rates, we don't get being notified before it's being increased. All sorts of things are supposed to warrant the dialogue before the implementation. So freight forwarders are not against VIN valuation platform or e-invoicing or e-valuation. But what we are saying is that the duty has unnecessary astronomically up, and this will affect the standard of living, and it's going to increase inflation to the country. By the time the country going on inflation, what will happen? Recessions. And don't forget, some people live on loan. That by the time they import the vehicles, they have to get the loan to clear it. Why would they get it? There is no financial assistance in this country, I'm telling you. If you have a 50 million in this country, you go to buy, you need 3 million on top of that. You'll be treated with nobody. Let me tell you something. One, the charges for customers increase, and this has to come on top of something. So either you like it or there's a fraction increment, even when they say they went back to the old duty. Don't forget that about 4 weeks we stay in protest, there is threat from it. Those days, there's a communication between NPA and shipping company to waive duties. But this country has got to a stage, even if the federal government directs shipping and terminal operators, they will flaunt the directives. Because it has happened when things were even tough, pandemic time. They flaunted the directive for the federal government, and the Nigerian Shippers Council was really struggle to be able to get some rent way for limited people. Well, so what I'm trying to tell you in the essence that the last protest we have, people pay rent. Pay as far as 160, 200,000 rent for a car of 2008, 2007. Where does that rent go? So when we are protest, some people are just taking advantage. So there must be condition, a clause in the terms and conditions of these concessions. What I can tell precisely from the statistics from my members, I believe that those judges only 5 days being waived. Because, and if they surely they've done that, they can show us the proof. I can confirm that to you, even in person experience it, to be honest with you. And I still have over about 20, 22 vehicles lie down there to try to work on it. You understand? So if parameter they waste 70%, who is going to be lamenting on it? You understand? And to be honest, this is supposed to be difficult because the economic regulator, Shipper Council, supposed to have handled this in collaboration with CFFN. You understand? So easily everyone to be able to get the data of the event in the maritime through these people. But to be precisely, what are data we can confirm for them? The only thing is that if we decided to conduct hypothesis or a precast from our members, that okay, what have you done so far for these weeks? That's the area where we get our data. But it's not supposed to be like that. When there's accuracy or accountability in a prevention and in industry, these people should be able to give us what is happening as a point.